Hi, I'm Claude Curran and I'm running for Congress in Massachusetts' 4th Congressional District as a write-in candidate. I'll talk to you a little bit more about my write-in candidacy and how it's come to that. But first I want to talk to you about a few important things. You may think that these problems are just social problems, but they're not just social problems, they're economic problems because we pay for them. And the bigger these problems get, the more money they drain from us. We continue to make the same mistakes expecting that something will change. And I want to ask you the following question. Are we better off now after 30 years of Barney Frank policies? Drugs. Here in Massachusetts, it's a huge problem, a very expensive problem to treat. People addicted lose their jobs, houses, even their families. Some require dozens and dozens of detoxes and still can't get better. $1,000 urine tox screens 3 times a week ordered by the courts. Daily taxi rides to and from the methadone clinic, 365 days a year. Counseling, group therapy, all on your dime. 103 Massachusetts military, unfortunately, sadly, have been killed in the Middle East since 9/11. But at the same time, we've had almost 7,000 drug overdose deaths in Massachusetts during that same period. Our kids are safer over on the battlefront clearing landmines than they are on the streets of Massachusetts. Thanks, Barney. Deadbeat dads and teen moms, another huge expense. One young man in New Bedford has fathered over 50 kids, and no legal consequences for him, yet we're paying for all his kids, their food, housing, counseling, for their medication when they get diagnosed with ADD. The teen girls know they get pregnant, we reward them with their own apartment. Thanks, Barney. Gay marriage, gay adoption, surrogate parents. Are we sure that kids turn out the same without a parent of each sex? Can having a gay parent influence the young children to embrace the gay lifestyle? Are we making children curious about homosexual sex? The big question is, can gay parents affect the development of their children's sexual orientation? We know very little about that process. Also, are we depriving surrogate mom babies and sperm bank babies and their grandparents the natural human right of knowing who your own family is? Is this fair? Are we crazy? Tobacco. Boring subject, but listen to this. We pay $500 million a day to doctors and hospitals to treat the diseases of smokers. 1,200 Americans die every day from smoking diseases. Worldwide, 100,000 kids have their first cigarette every day. And we put up with this. Where are our leaders? Have we taken a vow of silence on tobacco? But I have a plan for tobacco if you help me. Barney, do you have a plan? Sean Belot, do you have a plan? Pain medications. Again, tied with the huge addiction problem in Massachusetts. These medicines are some of the most powerful chemicals on the planet. They may help pain, but the risk of addiction is always there. Many patients, and their doctors too, don't clearly understand what addiction is. And the drug companies are not held accountable for giving someone a pill that can permanently ruin their life. And Washington protects these companies, and we pay for the ruined lives. Here in Fall River and New Bedford, we have the highest incidence of opiate dependence in the country. As a result of that, we have a booming methadone business. The methadone industry here is very lucrative. They've enslaved a significant percentage of the addicted population. And it's time to address the methadone problem. Patient abuse, methadone patient abuse. All over this country, methadone patients are forced into daily visits to their clinic. They are being denied both their patient rights and their human rights. Not even level 3 sex offenders are forced to go daily for treatment for their problem. The nature of opiate addiction is so overpowering that these patients cannot function without daily dosing of some sort of opiate. However, they are being denied access to other less restrictive forms of treatment, specifically buprenorphine, also known as Suboxone, and LAM, that we don't even use in the United States, but it's used elsewhere in the world with good effect. Both are less impairing. Methadone for most causes more tiredness, weight gain, and is even more addicting than heroin is. Access to Suboxone and LAM would have prevented many cases of AIDS and the huge price of treating addiction. Plus, LAM can be dosed every 3 days, 10 days of treatment monthly instead of 30 like with methadone. We would save money. Access to Suboxone, for some reason, is limited. Addiction doctors can only treat a certain number of patients. Why? To keep the methadone and drug dealers in business. Suboxone could wipe out 80% of the worldwide demand for heroin, yet access to it continues to be rationed. Why? I will go to Washington and fight to end the rationing of Suboxone treatment. It is the only disease in the United States where treatment is rationed. Again, to the benefit of methadone industry and the drug dealers. I ask voters from all over Massachusetts to support Curran for Congress so that we can restore methadone patients their rights all over the country. As for you, Barney Frank, why did you keep your big mouth shut while the methadone industry and the FDA kept Suboxone away from needy patients for over 30 years? I ask all families in Massachusetts and all over the country who've been affected by addiction. I ask their friends to support me by the web, by Facebook, and I want you to tell everyone about Dr. Curran's campaign to end their slavery. Let's free the methadone slaves. Here in Fall River, the schools. Of course, the public school system in the 4th Congressional District reflects the social chaos on the streets. Teachers have complained to me about the lack of structure and discipline in the class, verbal and physical abuse of teachers, tolerance and acquiescence to overt heterosexual and homosexual misconduct in the corridors. Administrators, intimidated by parents, fail to support teachers who try to enforce consequences for bad behaviors. In some of our schools, students are pledging allegiance to one nation under the Constitution of the United States. If fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, our school children are doomed from the start. We let teens quit school even without having basic skills like filling out a job application or washing a floor or making a bed. Soon they receive lifetime disability payments because they're depressed and they're addicted and can't work. And we pay for it. Thanks, Barney. Borders, language, and culture. Dr. Curran supports protection of our national borders, English as our natural language, and the preservation of cultural norms that contribute to the orderly function of our communities and the healthy development of our citizens. National security. With all the problems we've talked about, we think that other countries want to be like us as we try to establish an American-style democracy in Afghanistan and in Iraq. Well, let me tell you that it is unlikely that either George Washington or Thomas Jefferson would recognize the society we live in today. In fact, George Washington would likely fight to protect us from an empire that would forbid our children to pray in school or the mention of God in public gatherings. Meanwhile, we tolerate pornography and treat our elderly pornographers like celebrities. Our enemies are using our lack of morality as a recruiting tool for their suicide bombers. Massachusetts was founded by pilgrims, people on a pilgrimage, a spiritual journey. That spiritual journey was interrupted well over 40 years ago, and we've been wandering lost ever since. Vote for me, and we will get back on track. Curran for Congress. Thank you.